Welcome, everyone, to Wizards and Warp Drives, the podcast where two grown-ass men get deeply nerdy about the things they love. My name is Nacho, and joining me this week is Fred from How to RPG.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, mate. Yourself?
It's been pretty good. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I believe our our team member in crime is partying it up, having a good time.
Yeah, he's gone away for the weekend, I believe.
Sensible thing to do, AJ.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just sending selfies, so it's hard to tell. Yeah. There was a little bit of confusion today. We were going to talk about the Skeleton Crew. I thought we were talking about the Skeleton Crew, and Fred thought we were talking about Sky Captain. And when I say
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew, I am not meaning the development team behind Project Sigil. I'm talking about the TV show.
Yeah. Let's not go there with that one. I mean, we could talk about that, but I don't feel like it's a conversation that needs. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the day will come where I can be bothered. Anyway, let's talk about Sky Captain in the world of tomorrow.
Yeah. So continuing with our theme of talking about movies and programs that I don't think other people really give a fuck about, apart from us. Yeah, Thunderbirds, John Carter. We're going to touch on a film that came out in 2004 called Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. So the reason I think we chose this film is it's kind of forgotten. It was out and it's forgotten. And
Well,
I
no,
think
to be fair, when you say forgotten, you haven't really made it clear that people forgot it when it was out.
yeah.
People forgot it when it was out. Like, I think the going joke was people didn't know it was there,
Yeah.
and then when they went to it, they forgot it.
It's a diverse film. I think it is hated by a lot of people, but despite its flaws, I still think it embodies a childlike enthusiasm. It's visually ambitious.
Oh
It
yeah,
pushes the limits of digital effects, and it's quite pioneering. And it's also weirdly the director's only film. He made this, and then he never made anything else.
well, there's a reason for that. Did
Yeah,
you realize nobody wanted to allow him to make another movie after this? He has not been able to make another movie because nobody will finance him. And that is a sad thing to see, but it is a reality. And that also the misgivings of this movie are so great. Like, I won't sugarcoat it. This is one of the most exciting movie concepts I had ever heard of. So when I had heard that this movie was coming and I saw the trailers, and I was like gobsmacked. But then
yeah.
I can deal with black and white. A general audience does not like black and white movies generally. It's usually a death sentence for a movie. Any movie nowadays.
It's not black and white. It's kind of sepia. Sepia. Is that
Yeah,
how
it
you
doesn't
say it?
matter. It
Yeah,
doesn't
that
matter,
kind
dude.
of.
Whether it's monochrome, sepia, black and white, it doesn't matter. It's not full color, and that is the problem for a lot of people, I think, ultimately. And then once I had heard of it and I was so excited, I watched it, and then I wasn't excited anymore. Um, and there's a couple of reasons why. It opens really strong, just the conceptual side of stuff. It opens really strong, but slowly but surely, I've noticed a pattern with this movie, which is it's not as good a movie as it could have been, and there's a lot of reasons why, and we're going to probably go over them. It was made for a budget of $70 million. And I want to make that clear. That is what the studio states was the budget. But the director and producers have stated that that is not correct at all, that their budget was nowhere near $70 million. So I suspect that what the studio has done is lumped in their marketing budget as well, or just made up a number. But I suspect it's their marketing budget as well included in that. So it's probably something like that. It's not the budget of just the movie. And then it made back, I think in the end, about $58 million worldwide. which is nowhere near enough money to make it financially successful. But the reality is, it's a beautiful movie. It really is. Like, even if you don't like the movie, I still think it is a beautifully visual movie. It has some of the most amazing styles of photography. Every shot is like or scene is like a master painting. Um, yeah, so there's a lot to be said about this movie that's amazing. So, yeah, far away, Nacho.
Yeah, I was at the time this came out. I was playing in a Eberron campaign, and this had similar vibes to Eberron. That sort of that noir, steampunk, diesel punk type sort of feeling. So I was into it as well, and also we both like really old sci-fi, so it was an homage. So yeah, so the synopsis or the plot, quickly go through it. So it's set in a technologically advanced 1939. The film follows the disappearance of a renowned scientist and a series of giant robot attacks on New York City. Reporter Polly Perkins teams up with Sky Captain Joseph Sutherland, and together they embark on a journey to uncover the origins of the robots, Dr. Tokenkoff's secret plans for global annihilation, and their adventure takes them across the world from Tibet to a high-tech island where they uncover a plot to repopulate Earth with a new race. Sky Captain and Polly race to stop Dr. Tokenkoff before his rocket launch destroys the planet.
Yeah.
So the film is... it's got a solid cast as well. So it was written and directed by Kerry Conran in his directorial debut, and the film was produced by John Abbott, Sadie Frost, and Jude Law. It also stars Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Angelina Jolie, and it is an example of Odyssean, which is a pre-World War II diesel punk.
Yeah. It's also pulp adventure. It's a pulp adventure story. That's where it sort of comes from. And I think really there's been very few pulp adventure style stories that have been successful on the film, either because people have not known how to make pulp adventure for the current audience, or they just hadn't understood how to make pulp adventure. I think the only one that has been successful, truly successful, has been Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, which is its influence. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's inspired by 1930 serials like classic adventure films and Golden Age comics and Raiders of the Lost Ark, swashbuckling. It's filmed in this kind of sepia tone, with the sort of the effects sort of invoke this vintage dreamlike quality. The score as well is also very old school, sort of with this aesthetic of old school, and the lighting is it's really strangely lit as well. It's just very pulp, very noir.
It's lit like a black and white movie. This is how you would light it. And it is lit. In other words, they deliberately put shadow where shadow needs to be. Whereas something like that is not something a modern movie tends to do. You can see everything. You know, it's like you're in bright light and there's light sources from every angle. So there is no shading, there is no shadow in a lot of modern movies. Outside of the horror genre, it's the only place you generally see it. You know, otherwise it doesn't happen. It is CGI special effects are outstanding. Like I can't say anything bad about the CGI. Maybe the style of CGI is not something people can deal with, but the CGI effects themselves.
It did lack weight.
Yeah.
Like it does feel CGI. Like, you know, CGI has come a long way since. It doesn't have any weight. Like when those giant robots are coming through New York City, you don't. Yeah, it does feel like CGI. You know,
Yeah.
you're not
The whole
feeling
movie
that
feels
sort of.
like CGI. Like literally everything feels like it's CGI because it is. I watched the behind the scenes, and it literally is just actors against a blue screen most of the time. I mean, they didn't use a lot of green screen; they used blue screen for this movie, but it's just everywhere. So what you would expect? You know, it's a CGI movie. I think the design of the robots is. I mean, I think one of the things that stood out for me when I first came across this was the design of the robots and the fact they had giant robots, an army of them attacking a city, and that was the first step in this threat. But it wasn't the only thing, right? There was amazing aircraft. All the robots are really clever design. Aircraft, clever design quite often. Backgrounds, really retro. It's a mix of retro design, and then there's some really amazing modern designs as well. It's all mixed up. It's like it feels like it's a whole bunch of different time zones smashed together.
Sort of that art deco sort of design as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the movie really does feel like, and that's what they were going for, like a black and white 50s comic book, or even a
Mm.
black and white 50s or 40s movie. It feels like that. Um,
Do you want to go through the cast and the first, or the behind the scenes stuff first?
well, let's do the thing that you feel like doing first, because I don't honestly care.
Okay.
Um,
We'll go through. Yeah, we'll go through the cast and all their different roles and their characters. So yeah, we've got Jude Law as Joseph Sutherland, the Sky Captain. He is the leader of the Flying Legion, a private air force with. He's got sort of. I guess he's meant to be a charismatic, kind of avoiding that typical macho flyboy portrayal.
Something
Uh,
like that.
yeah. um, Yeah, Law was apparently drawn to the film after seeing the teaser trailer, and he was excited by the opportunity to explore a cinematic relationship reminiscent of the African Queen meets Buck Rogers.
Yeah, but it was also an opportunity to work with probably they were on a cutting edge of CGI and film special effects. Like this was really blowing the doors off all of that. Um, and you might not think, well, okay, but a lot of the times you don't realize that CGI was not as advanced. It really wasn't that advanced back when this was made.
No,
They really weren't using it that much. It was usually being used to make something that didn't look real look more real, and the end result is it didn't look real. You know what I
like
mean?
what was a classic one was the Scorpion King, The Rock
Oh,
and the
yeah,
Scorpion King. Yeah,
yeah,
that was that around this era of
yeah,
CGI.
yeah. But
Yeah,
I mean, even things like uh, I was going to say the Last Starfighter, but that's not fair. That's really, really early stuff.
yeah,
I'm just trying to think of something right now that's the right. But yeah, at that time, really nobody had used CGI to the extent that this movie had. And of course, you learn a whole lot of lessons by relying so heavily on CGI in the filmmaking process. It can sometimes be a mistake. And this is one of the things this movie suffers from, is it kind of made that mistake.
yeah.
Um,
Well, Jude Law jumped on as a producer for this film with his
yeah,
wife at the time.
yeah,
Yeah, and his father was also in the film.
yeah.
Yeah,
And the thing is, like, I mean, Jude Law is Jude Law, and
yeah,
really, Jude Law doesn't really play Sky Captain. He just plays himself in
mm,
this film. Which, if
yeah,
you like Jude Law, that's fine, but it's yeah, I don't really feel like he was stretching his acting chops. And
no,
the argument can be said that Jude is not a very good actor. I don't think that's true. I
no,
think that Jude is a very capable actor, but whether it's direction, script, or the fact that he has nothing to sort of wrap his mind around because he's surrounded by blue screen may have been the problem. But his character acting in this is not great,
yeah,
and this unfortunately affects all of the actors in this movie, as we
yeah.
discover.
So next up, we got Gwyneth Paltrow as Polly Perkins, a determined reporter from the New York Chronicle. Jude Law actually convinced Paltrow to join the project, and she was attracted to it for the opportunity to break new ground with unique action sort of filmmaking techniques. I just want to say um, the chemistry between her and Law is fucking terrible. They have no on-screen chemistry at all in this film.
I feel like they try,
Yeah,
and it doesn't work. There isn't any chemistry whatsoever.
no,
Um, I think probably Gwyneth does a slightly better job than Jude,
yeah,
but she's also playing herself. She's really, she's playing herself. If Gwyneth Paltrow was a reporter, and you could say,
Yeah,
well, that is acting, but the problem is, it is still not that convincing, and it falls into the ongoing joke, as you may be aware, is she's only
two.
got two shots left in her camera, and all of these amazing things are happening around her, and she never takes a photo. And it all plays out in the end, and she winds up with no photos, even when she's ready to finally take a photo,
Yeah.
and she loses one shot to shooting the ground by accident. And the last shot, she thinks, now that's the photo I take. And she's got the fucking camera cap
She
on.
chooses to. She's got this amazing scene of all the dinosaurs and the aliens, and sorry, not aliens, the robots, and she decides to take a photo of Jude Law instead, but she leaves the lens cap on. It's
Hmm.
quite timely as well that it's a film obsessed by a woman trying to take photos, because we know how much now with like modern technology, how many photos, well, my wife in particular, take of just random shit. So like
Yeah.
just giving this woman, you know, you can only take two photos. I quite like that. She does play that stereotypical sort of like annoying Lois Lane type reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, my main problem with this film would be that all the characters just feel like archetypes that aren't developed personalities.
That's to be fair, but I don't think that is the true problem of this film. Yeah,
Yeah.
even if they just played those characters, and even if they were played a little bit better, um, well, and even the types of characters and I think the problem is is going to be really evident further on as we talk about this. I don't want to go into it too much because we're going to get lost in the weeds. But let's keep going with the next
Okay.
character.
Yeah, Angeline Jolie. She is in the film fuck all. I actually thought she was in this film a lot, but she doesn't show up till about the 60-minute mark, so halfway through.
Yeah,
Uh, she plays Commander Francisca Frankie Cook, who is the commander of the Royal Navy flying aircraft character. Apparently, Jolie conducted extensive research on fighter pilot jargon and the mentality for her role. She, she kind of method acted this one, apparently.
but she took it very seriously.
Yeah,
Angela took this role so seriously. In fact, I believe that she thought the eye patch, the costume that she had to wear, the pilot costume with the pack on the back and so forth,
yeah.
and the fishbowl on her head, was so cool. She went to a party with it. So she was definitely invested. And to be fair, I think her acting in this is not great either. She basically plays herself with an eye patch and a fishbowl on her head with a cool looking sort of aircraft suit. That's basically it. But I would say this. If you think about Angela Jolie's most iconic role that she's ever played, out of all the movies she's ever done, there's only one movie that stands out for me where she's probably done either a better job or you might remember it, and that's Maleficent, the
I
first one.
was going to say Tomb Raider. That
No,
was
no, it's
like,
not. It's not Tomb Raider. No,
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 it's
I think
Tomb
it's this
Raider.
role. It's not Tomb
No,
Raider. No, because she plays Frankie, who's literally the commander of a flying aircraft carrier and the squadron leader, and she can be identified because she wears an eye patch, a sailor's hat, a very cool looking pack on her back, and a fishbowl on her head. And
the
I
shorts
think
shorts are pretty memorable in Tomb.
I still think this is her most iconic role out of all of them. When you think about them, just like if you compared Tomb Raider, big breasts and shorts on, and then Angela as Maleficent, and then as Frankie, I feel like Frankie stands out as like, oh yeah, I see that's the one that's the coolest. The others not so cool. Um, yeah, but anyway, that was my take on Angela.
It's a cool costume.
It
Uh,
is,
yeah,
yeah,
and yeah, she's got some cool gadgets. It was very Thunderbirds vibe, that
yeah.
flying sort of aircraft carrier. Um, yeah, because they were running out of fuel, weren't they? And he called upon Frankie, so you immediately assume it's a guy.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the joke. And yeah, she's she is kind of one of the boys, but yeah, she's got a cool because the thing in this film as well is the planes can go underwater. They're also submarines, also very Thunderbirds. And when she ejects, instead of having a parachute, she has a jetpack. So it's just yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
very
So
cool.
nobody important will ever die because there's always more technology that can save their butt, apparently, that we just
Yeah.
don't know about. Yeah.
Next up, we got Giovanni Ribisi. I don't know if I pronounced his name right. Who plays Dex or Dexter Dearborn, the ace mechanic of the Flying Legion. Um, he was pretty unsure about this film, but he got on board after seeing the teaser trailer as well. He's not in the film that much. He is kind of, I guess, the Q or the nerdy guy. He's the nerdy offsider that builds all their gadgets, and he becomes sort of the reason that I guess Sky Captain is more invested into finding this guy because he gets kidnapped. He's almost like a MacGuffin device.
Yeah, and I feel like his portrayal. I think there's one scene that he's in where I was like, oh, he actually stands out more than Jude or Gwyneth.
He's a charismatic actor, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
and then the rest of the time, it's he falls into the same boat as the rest of them.
yeah,
My general feeling is that once we see him outside of him being captured, leading up to that, it's not too bad. It's actually he's probably doing better than anybody else. And then after that, he's kind of shit like everybody else as well.
yeah.
And it is unfortunate because he's not a bad actor. He's a very capable actor. He can do the job if need be. It just doesn't work. Anyway,
And then after that, we got Dumbledore himself, Michael Gambon, as Mr. Paley, the tough yet supportive editor of the Chronicle. He's just the story. He's a very cliched giant newspaper editor. We've seen this before in Superman and various other medias. Yeah, I like Michael Gambon, but he doesn't do much in this film.
no, he's there basically as a Polly. Don't do this.
Yeah, yeah. This guy I thought really stood out, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, but he was probably, I think he's probably gives the best performance in this film out of all the actors. Omid Darjili as Kaju, the former comrade of Sky Captain from the Flying Legion. He plays that sort of similar to who's the actor's name in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Bella.
He's that contact. He's a sort of Middle Eastern contact.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Incredibly hairy.
Right.
There's that disturbing scene where they're all in bed together. I like him. I think he's he's kind of the comic relief, I guess, of the film.
He basically plays the same character he's played in so many movies. It's not funny.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's and I mean, it was fine for him to play that type of character once, but once we've seen it a few times, it kind of gets old. And if you're trying to rely on the fact that he can bring that aspect to another movie again and again and again, you're going to wear people down just a little bit. And this is where I kind of felt like I'd seen him play that character. And I was trying to, you have to do a quick check. Oh, am I right? Am I watching the right movie, or am I watching an older movie that I've seen him in before?
yeah. He's just the comic relief, isn't he?
Yeah. And he does a reasonable job, but like I said, the problem is we've already seen it too many times.
Yeah. And then we get, is it worth mentioning the female android?
Yeah. I mean, we don't see a lot of her, but she is, I guess,
Barling is her name? Yeah, she
yeah,
doesn't talk.
She doesn't talk, but she is definitely feels threatening the first time we come across her. And then after that, it's a bit weird. Like, I don't know what to make of this character.
Yeah.
Like, where she all fits in. other than being a lieutenant to the big bad. But ultimately, it doesn't matter, because unless she has everybody else playing off her correctly, it doesn't matter what she can bring to it. And like I said, I only felt like she was a threat the first time I saw her, and that was it.
Julian Curry is Dr. Jorg Vargas, who is the missing scientist. Trevor Baxter as Dr. Walting Jennings, who's another missing scientist. Jude's dad, Peter Law, played Dr. Kelser, another missing scientist. There's a lot of missing scientists in this film. But probably worth mentioning is he's kind of in the film, and he's not in the film, is Laurence Olivier.
Yeah, didn't they reconstruct his face for the Doctor just trying to basically destroy the world and restart it?
Totenkopf. He
Totenkopf,
is the first, because he had passed away. So he is the first recorded case of, I guess, a CGI representation of a deceased actor.
Yeah.
Ever. So yeah, a very pioneering thing, which I'm still don't know if I'm comfortable with. I really didn't like it, and that was my main bugbear of Rogue One. I don't know. It depends. I guess it depends on the level of consent given by the actor prior.
I think you do know. I think most of us do know. The problem is that if you have to call back to an actor who's already gone, who can't actually do the performance themselves, and you're just using their face, it's memory berries. It's taking something that's nostalgic and trying to capture something that will appeal to you. And I'm sorry, they fucking died. Like,
Yeah.
you need to get over it. You cannot use them anymore. You have to go find a new actor to play that character. And if you can't find one that can do a job that's just as good or better, that's tough shit. And I know that there are actors who have signed off their voice and their face to be used by studios in the future, because they know they're going to die, and they're not making any more movies because they've retired.
Yeah.
And that's their prerogative. But why are you doing that? Do you really think you're going to get success by shoving a certain face on something? It doesn't matter if you de-age them or anything like that. They died. They're gone. You get somebody else. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have to say.
I'm sure we'll discuss Rogue One at some point in the future, but
Oh, yeah.
that's almost a 5-star film for me, apart from that one particular use of a deceased character where they just really go too hard into it. They lean right into the face as well, and the technology wasn't there, and just totally take. Well, they do it twice in the film, don't they? They use two. No, one's dead. No, she was still alive. One's de-aged and one's deceased. But yeah, it's just oh, come on, guys. Just get someone else, like you say.
Yeah.
And that is pretty much the cast. You got any comments on anyone there I missed, or anything?
No, there was really only a couple of actors worth mentioning, and that was Jude, Gwyneth, Angela, and what's the other guy's name?
Michael Gammon.
Yeah.
Giovanni.
Oh, Giovanni. Yeah, Giovanni. Yeah. They were really the only ones that were really worth mentioning. Everything else they're just stand-ins, really.
Yeah. So yeah, everyone's on board because of this trailer or this short film that they created. So we'll get into the production and innovation. So Conrad and his brother Kevin originally created a 6-minute short, which they called The World of Tomorrow, using nothing but an old Apple Mac computer. Producer John Abbott saw this short film and secured funding, making Sky Captain is actually considered one of the most expensive indie films ever made. Fred's already mentioned this, but it was rumored to have an estimated budget of around $70 million, but completely flopped, only taking around $58 million. So
yeah, but I did a bit of research, and although the studio is adamant that it cost that much, I believe the director and the producers that in fact it did not cost that much. That is a number the studios have made
still,
up.
whatever
I
the
think
figure was.
I think what they've done is they've taken their marketing budget and they've plonked it into that as well to push up and make it look like it's a much more expensive movie than it really was.
Yeah.
Because they're
That's
usually,
insane.
yeah,
That's insane. Like even no matter how much money it is, it's insane that you and your brother have made a 6-minute film on a computer, on a basic home computer, released it, and next thing you're directing a multi-million-dollar blockbuster with A-list characters. Like, just to go from that environment to a studio set, and not just any ordinary studio set as well. Like, just dealing with technology that people were still finding their feet. That's
yeah.
insane.
I mean, to be fair, Deadpool did that. Ryan Reynolds accidentally dropped it
Yeah,
onto the internet, but that was made with, it was all mostly digital. Like, it wasn't, there's really nothing there. It's not like they found a section of freeway and cut it off and filmed a short trailer, and then of course even when they made the trailer, they weren't going to let the audience see it, even though they presented it to the studios. The studio said no, so he just dropped it on the internet. So this has been done before, and it does greenlight movies. Like, if you can convince them that you can produce 1 or 2 minutes of film that is of high enough quality that they think that they can sell it to an audience, they'll do it.
yeah,
Hell, they'll give you, like, people will give you big buckets loads of money to make a TV series, and then find themselves in court being sued, like the silly bugger who took money from Netflix and never produced a TV show. So it does happen.
yeah. I mean, Conrad originally wanted the film to resemble a lost 1930s serial short in black and white, and he wanted it cast with completely unknown actors. So he wasn't even after a big budget film. I think it just got so much interest and so much funding, and obviously Jude Law, he joined because of this 6-minute trailer and jumped on board with a producer. So I think it just snowballed for him, like out of like before he'd even, like, it wasn't what he went out. He wasn't aiming to make this a big film with A-list actors at all.
Right.
So it kind of just suddenly snowballed, and the film was shot entirely on digital sets, which revolutionized an approach at a time. This is quite important because this film led the way for things in the future like Sin City, 300. This was all groundbreaking stuff, like with nearly 100 digital artists working on backgrounds. They were blending in live action footage with CGI. This film was almost like an experiment in sort of future of filmmaking.
Yeah. Yeah. It allowed the likes of Avengers to be made, all the Avengers movies, really.
Mm.
And it allowed Marvel to progress to actors who find themselves standing on behind, in front of a green screen most of the time, which is not a. I think ultimately this is one of the failures of the movie, and also in many respects modern movie making, is the reliance on the actors having to use their imagination to believe something and act to that or respond to that, but there's nothing there.
I
Now
think
you
that
could say,
was the downfall of this one, is it had minimal set pieces, that they didn't have any references, which is, I think, there's something they've perfected now with the blue screen. Now they have always joke about the tennis ball on a stick that you're staring at. But because this was so like, this is the first one, they were still learning those techniques.
yeah, they were.
And I think that's why it doesn't hold up in that sense, because like the actors do feel like they are just standing in front of the screen because they were, and they didn't know
Yeah.
where to look. They didn't have anything to focus on. So it was, just due to its groundbreaking, is also its weaknesses.
Well, I was looking at the behind the screens, and they did have some. They did have some focus points, and I watched the director giving them instructions on where to look and what is supposed to be happening over there, and so forth. But this has always been the case with any CGI movie: is the actors always struggle to envisage the crazy shit that they have to think about. And it's not so
Mm.
bad if you're on stage, because usually when you're on stage, you're not trying to imagine the mind-boggling and crazy nonsense that takes place in movies. because you don't usually have stage shows that are sci-fi based, or have heavy science fiction influences, or huge fantasy influences. So it's a lot easier for those actors to think about what's going on, and often they will create, passable or something for them to react to. And so I think this is a problem for all actors, but that I think ultimately is not the problem with this movie. I think the problem with this movie is that the whole movie looks like it's CGI. It
Yeah.
doesn't look like it's CGI being used to make something look realistic. And that is
This
a
is
problem for an audience. It deliberately is made to look a particular way, and it is not designed to look realistic.
mm,
Um, it doesn't sell the story beyond the novelty. And
this. I think this is a type of film with today's technology you could probably make on your phone, almost.
maybe,
Yeah.
but in color.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the death nail of any movie is black and white or monochrome. You could say, oh, but Fred, there was Sin City, and I'm like, okay, you've found one or two exceptions to the rule, but the vast majority of the time, they fucking fail.
Mm.
And I love black and white. I will watch black and white, but the modern audience, the majority, will not watch it. Whether you
Yeah.
make it black and white, monochrome, or whatever the hell you want to call it, it doesn't matter. If it ain't full color, they ain't interested. It is really,
There's
really disaster idea.
there's a couple of films that have black and white versions where the director originally wanted them to be black and white. The Mist is one, and also Mad Max, the original Mad Max, not the original, sorry, the Fury Road.
Yeah,
I think he released that as a black and chrome version. So yeah, they were films that the studio is like, well, we'll let you record a version of the film in black and white, but we're not releasing it in black and white.
yeah. It's because
Yeah.
they know that the audience will not watch it.
Mm.
It's old technology. I know it's stylish. I get that. I totally understand. But this movie suffers from the same thing that all CGI movies suffer from. And most modern CGI movies can get past this because they use the CGI to try to make everything look as realistic as possible, because we have some mad buggers who think that the only thing that's important about a movie is how good the CGI is. And if it's not realistic, it's a shit movie, which is a stupid way to think. Because I don't think that is the issue with this movie. The issue is that the people playing in this movie are not convinced by what's around them, and they cannot put forward a performance that creates tension. So, I had a look at this and I thought about it very carefully. The story makes sense. It doesn't have a lot of huge leaps of logic. Generally, the story, even though it's fantastical and nuts and crazy, it actually makes sense. It's got a reasonable flow. It's got a beginning and end. Doesn't have flashbacks. It doesn't change the order of events. It doesn't get fancy. It's a solid plot. It mixes Noah's Ark with Doctor Lovegood. Is it Doctor Lovegood or Doctor Strangegood? I can't. I guess
Strange Love.
Strangelove. Yeah, with
Hmm.
Peter Sellers, right? It
Yep.
mixes those two concepts: the destruction of the world by a madman, and trying to save it by collecting up two of all the animals. it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's essentially that story, which is a very clever combination, and the way that it's presented is amazing. But the way the story is told by the actors, and the actors are the ones that are important because they are human actors; they are not cartoons. They don't create tension. They don't look like they're truly afraid or have fear. They don't look truly excited. They actually feel like they're walking through, and it's just, I say this, you say that. Oh, this is happening, but I'm really not that fantastically concerned because I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that is the biggest problem. One of the real reasons I find this movie frustrating is the acting is not good. It doesn't create tension or fear or excitement the way that it is. The story is put together and the performances that we get. Um, And one of the things I've realized, even though I like this movie a lot or want to like this movie a lot, is that the story is boring. It is a boring story, not because of the story itself, but the way that it's told. I find I think there's
It's
only
very
one
slow
time.
paced,
Yeah,
considering the action.
it is very, very slow paced,
Yep.
and you're not convinced that anybody's at real true threat because every time something goes wrong, like for Sky Captain's plane, looks like a normal sort of World War II airplane, but you shoot it, it has smoke coming off it, it just seems to self repair or turn to something else and just keeps going. It's fine. You know, somebody gets their ship blown up. No, they just eject and then fly off with a jetpack, which is cool and shit. But you start to realize that there's nothing that is really truly at stake here. Like the main characters are protected. Everybody else can be killed horribly, but I am not convinced that the characters will drop. Um, I've found that every time I watch this movie, the first time I just managed to get to the end before I started to nod off to sleep. And every other time, and I've watched it a few times, I can never get to the end of the movie before I fall asleep. And I'm like, oh, did I miss the end? Oh, fuck, I missed the end again. And that is part of the problem with this movie. It is just not exciting, which is why it was financially a flop.
I
Because,
think if this film was made for maybe 20 million with unknown actors, it might have been better.
well, it would. I mean, that would be, I guess, possible. But the reality is that is not the issue. I think ultimately with a film. A film has to be entertaining. It has to entertain the audience. Now, the idea being that when you make a film, you try to make a film that will appeal to as many people as possible. But if you're not going to appeal to the biggest audience, then you have to appeal to the right part of the audience and get enough of them there to watch it to cover the cost of making the movie, doing the marketing, and paying the theaters.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it is irresponsible filmmaking.
it's
And
it's a niche audience.
it's a
It's
niche
a
audience, yeah. So, I think the critics' view of this film is it's 71% on Rotten Tomatoes,
yeah.
and so basically the majority of film critics liked the movie, but the reason they liked the movie is because it is a visually stunning movie. It has all the elements of a good story, but its one greatest weakness is it is not entertaining enough. It doesn't create enough fear, excitement, and tension to invest you in it.
Mm,
So the reality is most critics actually like it. But if you look at the audience opinion of this movie, it is very split.
yeah.
Something like,
It's normally the opposite, isn't it? It's normally it's normally like the critics that shit on a film and an audience that embraces it. But
yeah, yeah,
this is like the reverse of a cult film. It's
yeah,
like where the critics are positive and the audience reject it.
yeah. The audience is divided. 46% liked the movie, and 54% did not. And
Yeah,
the reason is it failed to do the one necessary thing. Even if you do great visuals, even if you do great structure in your story, even if you have good enough ideas and you shoot it and you can make a really good looking movie. But if it's not entertaining and the audience doesn't want to watch it, you have failed. And
mm.
unfortunately, that is what this movie is.
I mean, there was only so many people that are interested in 1930s pulp,
Yeah,
World War II, diesel punk.
yeah.
It's a very very niche audience. I mean, yeah, it's my bag for sure, but it is a very niche audience that you're aiming for. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, even if it were it's my thing. But do you honestly believe that it created the kind of excitement that you would have got from watching the likes of Raiders of the Lost Ark or the Temple of Doom, or what's another one
no,
that's a pulp action adventure that people weren't really expecting to do very well? It doesn't have those elements
no,
that allows you
it
to
just
convince you.
it created the foundations for other films to do what it was
Yeah,
trying to do better.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
its legacy.
That
You know,
that is truly its legacy. Yeah, absolutely. It is also a really good example of why it is a bad idea to rely on CGI.
Mm.
Ultimately, CGI should be just used when absolutely necessary, and there's no other. You couldn't do it with practical effects without it being impossible. Do you know what I mean? I have a big thing with heavy use of CGI, because CGI, no matter how good it is, generally just still looks like CGI.
And unlike like we were talking about last week with John Carter, this film was marketed really well. Like, it had TV spots, promotional comics. They brought it to San Diego Comic Con. The marketing, like you said, that is possibly included in that $70 million budget.
Yeah.
They didn't. Yeah, not the studio didn't bury it
No.
at all.
No.
It's the audience that buried it.
Yeah.
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 Which is,
I mean, if it had been made and it was color, I suspect that a lot more people would have gone and watched the movie, even if the it didn't have enough excitement and tension in it. Just making it color would have made a big, huge difference.
yeah.
Maybe that would have made it more expensive to make the movie rather than having it sort of monochrome. But that's the reality of a movie like this.
It's a love letter to a particular niche genre that not many people give a fuck about anymore.
Yeah. If this movie had been made back in 1930 or 1940 or even 1950s, it probably would have been, for its time, it would have probably been considered unbelievably amazing. It would have been the Star Wars of that age. But it didn't get made back in that time. And I don't think it holds up over time either, just because there are certain things you need to have in a film, and it lacks emotional content. Yeah.
All right. I'll go into a little bit of trivia and facts. Maybe I did dig up a few things. There wasn't too much about this film.
Yeah, it's weird, eh? You would have thought there would have been more behind the scenes sort of stuff. There is a lot of, I mean, it's about an hour I found of behind the scenes, but it's not like behind the scenes.
Like I said at this beginning, this film is released and forgotten.
Yeah,
It's like it's really hard to find. It's not on any streaming services. It's just it's kind of just been, along with the director, it's just been forgotten
I
about.
thought it was on YouTube now.
Yeah, I mean, it's on YouTube. Just, I guess someone chucked it on there, and it's not legally on YouTube.
Oh, right. It's an illegal copy.
Yeah. Someone has put it up there, but it's not like, it's not available on any like streaming service. Well, in New Zealand anyway, I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah, well, I've only got it because I got it on disc.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So here's some trivia I did dig up. The sunken ship, the Venture, is a nod to the ship from King Kong, including a cage large enough for Kong, implying possibly that this is a shared universe. I guess King Kong was in the is it in the open? What's it called? It's available.
Public domain.
Public domain. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
I guess so.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like, public domain laws are different in every country. Of course, America always considers their public domain laws to be the most important ones, or the only ones that actually exist, but it's not true. So I believe that it would be, I think it's like 50 something years after the creation, and of course King Kong was 1930, so it's been a while.
1933, I believe. Yeah. I mean, all these Easter eggs just show how much Conrad loved this particular era of radio serials, pulp sci-fi, noir, just all that stuff. He just packed this film full of a lot of Easter eggs. The World of Tomorrow is a reference to a New York World's Fair, which was showcased between 1939 and 1940, which I believe appears in Captain America as well, the first
That's
Avenger.
true. Yeah, it was one of the big aspects of Tony Stark, and his father was the World Fair, that particular World Fair.
Yep. The giant robots that attack New York were inspired by a Superman cartoon called The Mechanical Monsters, which came out in 1941, where the robots are controlled by radio signals.
Oh, I think I remember that. No, that's not that's not a good thing, but I think I remember that comic book.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they do remind me of the old school, like with the twisty thing at the back.
Yeah, the wind-up
Yeah,
robots, yeah, it does. They literally do feel like that, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Uh, Conrad initially wanted the film to resemble a lost 1930s serial and shot completely in black and white with unknown actors. But he was abandoned this idea after getting like so much money from the producers. Uh,
I think the problem is that this is one of those issues where, sometimes it is best to take less money to make a thing for it to be what it needs to be. And if it had been made for that, what he had his original vision, it might have done better financially. But I honestly think that he should have, if he's going to take that money, and that much money, he needs to completely shift over to full color, and he needs to figure out how to get emotional content out of three potential actors that aren't terrible actors. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Jude and Gwyneth Paltrow. They are capable of acting.
goes to show you how much a director influences an actor's performance.
Yes, yeah,
Like
good direction is really important.
yeah,
Um,
because that time has proven that this is a solid fucking cast with like
yeah.
actors that can switch it on and give like great performances.
And they weren't in the such early stages of their life that they were incapable of doing it.
No, I think she'd done. Yeah, she was peak. She'd already run an Academy Award by then, I believe. Was that after that?
Gwyneth
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She'd.
Gwyneth was in Great Expectations, and her performance in Great Expectations is one of my middle sister's most beloved movies. Jude had done enough stuff that he was a name,
He,
um,
he's
and
kind of a character actor, wasn't
he's
he?
now a character actor. He moved away. He really. They all struggled to get work for a little while. I think apart from Angela was doing fine,
Yeah,
um, but
Jude
Jude
has been
and Gwyneth.
consistently been in some of my favorite science fiction films of all
Mm,
time. Yeah, he was in AI, Steven Spielberg,
mhm.
uh, Gattaca, which I think is a phenomenal film, and also Existence.
Yeah, but also too, those aren't super
Great film.
financially successful movies.
No,
No,
no, no.
they are great. They are great movies, but they are not financially successful. I think even AI, I don't think that was financially successful as a movie.
Another one, Polly's line. They're crossing 6th Avenue, 5th Avenue is lifted directly from Ray Collins's line in Orson Welles' radio version of War of the Worlds, which was released in 1938. So this is the infamous version of War of the Worlds where people actually thought it was a radio broadcast, not a serial, and it caused worldwide panic.
Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, that's just a direct line and a nice little Easter egg, a little homage there to the great Orson Welles. Yeah, Sir Laurence Olivier's cameo. This was used as a hologram from old photographs, and Olivia had actually been dead for over 15 years when this film was before this film was made. So I don't know how they got the rights to that.
But they did. I believe this is one of those situations where they made sure to have legal rights to do so.
Yeah. It was initially Bai Ling, the android girl's character, was the one supposed to be wearing the eye patch, but apparently Angelina Jolie stepped up and said she wanted the eye patch for her character. So
Yeah,
that was a last minute change.
because she's a sky pirate.
Yeah, so cool. This is where I'm getting my Eberron vibes. Tesla coils, they were actually real. They weren't CGI. That was real arc electricity used in this film. And the plane's call sign, which was H110D, if you fly the plane upside down, this is Jude Law's plane, by the way, it spells out Polly, showing that Sky Captain really does love Polly.
Well, I think they make that obvious in the movie, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's all the facts I managed to dig up about this film. There wasn't much.
Yeah.
No one talks about this.
No, and it's understandable. This is a movie that this makes me feel sad. Do you know what I mean?
It's
You know,
potential, isn't it?
yeah, it's the potential. It's so close. It is
This
so
is
damn close, and it just didn't quite get there.
this is something Peter Jackson would have done a really good job with.
No, I don't believe so.
No,
I think people forget that Peter Jackson made Meet the Feebles and Bad Taste. Now, I like Bad
he
Taste.
loves World War II shit, and he
Yeah,
loves all this. This is
yeah.
everything in his wheelhouse.
No, but I mean, here's the thing. This is fantasy, sci-fi, noir. This is a very different animal, and Peter
No,
Jackson's better off just doing documentaries because people have, you know, ever since he's made the Lord of the Rings, everything is now measured against Lord of the Rings, a movie that took 3 years and pre-production before they even started filming, and where they filmed three movies at the same time. That is enough for anybody to want to retire from filmmaking for the rest of their life. That is some crazy shit. Like that's filming for 3 years
yeah,
and pre-production for 3 years. That's 6 years of just flat out going crazy, and then all of the marketing after.
yeah,
I
but
I I
he
don't
did King
think he's
Kong.
he's the right person for it. I don't think I don't think that this movie was thought out clearly enough. I think if they wanted it to be financially successful, they needed to figure out how to convince the actors to have enough fear in them and enough emotional content to convince the audience that the special effects around them was actually real and that they were at threat, and they needed to make a color.
Hmm.
And I think that is probably the best chance they would have had. Otherwise, you don't make this movie.
It's just a weird genre, isn't it? Steampunk or diesel punk. I don't think
It's never done well.
Mortal Engines is another one
Oh,
like this. Great potential. Just yeah.
I guess
Also,
who made that one? Who's the director of that one?
he produced it. He's a producer.
He's a producer. Okay, he's a
Yep.
producer. So, but who was the producer on that one?
Peter Jackson. He also
Right.
did
Was
King
that a
Kong
good
as
movie?
well.
Did they make a lot of money?
Yeah, no, it's fucking fantastic. People come to New Zealand just to see the sets.
Yeah, sure.
Who was the director on that one? They had Hugo Weaving in it as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had a lot of people that were well known.
His wife did his wife and Peter did the screenplay, and they also produced it. It was directed by a Christian Rivers, who I've never heard of in New Zealand. Oh, he was a storyboard artist for Peter Jackson, so it's his directorial debut. So he was the storyboard artist on Lord of the Rings,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and went on. He gave him a shot as a director.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But again,
yeah,
and that I don't want to talk about Mortal Engines if we can help it, because it's more about Sky Captain. It's a movie
I was
that
just
had,
saying though, this particular that's the only film I can think of in the steampunk.
yeah.
And they don't. Steampunk is just not a genre that people care about.
No, it's not. And people might say, but heck, there's lots of steampunk and anime.
Hmm.
But anime is cartoon. It's still animation. It's a different animal, and it's. I mean, I know a lot of the younger generation do like anime, but it's a very specific type of anime that they're after. And anime is still not really mainstream. Do you know what I mean? It
Yeah, I
has a
guess
it has
like
a following. It has a following amongst some portion of the younger generation. There's a tiny number probably in the older generation that are into anime, but I would assume that they're quite small. And then it's mostly, Japan, China, Asia that are into more of the anime sort of stuff, which is why they make it in the first place. But it's not American. It's not something the Americans care too much for. It's not something that the most of the European countries care that much about either. So it's not going to do that well.
no. That Arcane, which I don't know if you've
I've started
seen that.
watching it. It's very good.
I
But
think that's possibly a steampunk, and that's phenomenal. Yeah.
it is very, very good. Absolutely, I agree. But the difference is it's animated.
Mm,
It is not live action mixed with CGI, and it has emotional content.
yeah.
That is your biggest weakness with any movie. If you cannot get emotional content out of your audience through the use of your actors and the story you're telling, there's something wrong with your movie and your story. That's it.
All right, let's just give some final thoughts on Sky Captain, and get out of here. Eh?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to go?
Yeah. The greatest concept that anybody could possibly have come up with, in my opinion, that was just not successful because it didn't make you feel enough to be entertaining to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fun, visually inventive. It's very earnest, but it just lacks any depth at all.
Mhm.
It's flat. It's kind of this weird mix of groundbreaking filmmaking, but it's very misguided in its execution, and it's a film that just halted a guy's career as well. Even though he made a big influence on filmmaking, future filmmaking, it also like killed his career as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it wouldn't have taken much. I think with some tweaks, um, maybe a lower budget, it could have been a cult classic. It's a strange film. It's a film that, like I said, its legacy is what it's contributed to other films more than this film itself. Uh, but it is a shame that obviously a guy with this much passion, it comes from a place of passion, and it's always sad when you see that someone makes their passion project and not only does it flop, but it also ruins them as a filmmaker.
Mm.
I think it's a little bit sad, but yeah, it is. It's not. I don't know if I'd recommend it for someone to watch.
No, no, I don't. If anything, I would recommend watching the trailer. Watch
Yeah,
the trailer.
it was a
A-
chore to get through.
it is a chore to watch this movie. You know, particularly if you haven't seen it if you've seen it more than once. It actually becomes more difficult.
Mm.
Um, so
And when you go through the plot, it's exciting. It sounds exciting.
look, as I said, man, it's got all those pieces, like the story, the what's going on, heck, even the action. But because you don't believe that this stuff is real,
Mm.
because it looks like it's CGI and it's also in black and white, and I think the human brain is triggered. It responds to color. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And as soon as we see something in black and white, we don't quite click, which
I
means that.
don't. I don't have a problem with the black and white at all.
But I think that's part of the problem. I mean, I don't might not have an issue with that quite so much as other people. You might not, but I think our general audience, the way that we are structured, this is why our brain has eyes connected, with rods and cones. The cones pick up color. We are designed to see in color, not in black and white. We're not a dog. So, and you have to make your audience believe the story and pull them in. And this doesn't quite get there.
I think it's
Um,
the performances that hold me back on this film. I
yeah,
just, like I said before, I think the characters feel like archetypes that aren't developed. It's just a bunch of cliches, and it's a bunch of really talented actors with no direction, just giving really flat performances.
yeah,
I'm willing to forgive the CGI for its time. I've watched,
mm,
we watch a lot of shit films, and I'll move past the CGI and the effects sometimes because it is just a film of its time. And
mm,
but for me, and I think it goes to show how important the director is, like we said, to giving, because these actors have serious acting chops. Um, they would just not, obviously. I mean, and that's just due to this guy's inexperience. I mean, this is a guy that was
never made a film. He's
rocket
never
launched
made a
from
film in his entire life.
making, basically made a YouTube video and got a fucking massive budget in a studio to and some A-list actors, and didn't know what the fuck he was doing, and he just packed it full of homages. He was trying to run before he could walk, really. And that's probably its biggest flaw. And it's a shame that it killed his career.
Yeah. I think one of the first things that all filmmakers need to do, and I know this sounds strange because I never really liked horror, but I think all filmmakers should start off making a low-budget horror movie.
Yeah.
Because
horror is a really good genre, for low budget film, and it's got certain pacing. You know what you need to hit.
Yeah, because the reality is with low budget horror, you have to get an emotional response from your audience. You have to scare the shit out of them. So you have to figure out how to do that, and you can't just show them stuff that looks repulsive and gory, because that's not enough sometimes. There's plenty of people who have been desensitized to that. You have to be able to play on their fears, and I think that's, filmmakers should make horrors first.
I think, and I think actors as well,
Yeah.
that do these type of CGI films, they should play fucking tabletop RPGs to learn to like interact with shit that isn't there to spark their imaginations.
Yeah.
Because obviously these performances in this film are terrible.
No, they're not good. They're not good.
And that's what holds it back for me.
Yeah.
So same as you. This film ticks all the boxes. You read the screenplay, you read the plot. Sorry, it's this should be a 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah. If it had been made with just some with that emotional content, and honestly, I think in color, I think it could have made $1 billion. Like, I think it could have made a shitload of money.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Yeah, it was a strange one, that, talking about that
It
film.
is a strange one to talk about. It's kind of like talking about the girlfriend or the car that you wanted so much until you drove the car or kissed the girl, and then decided, no, that wasn't great.
Yeah.
I don't know how. That's a strange analogy. Mate, let's go with something else. It was the beer or the meal that you were so excited for. It looked great, and when you ate it or drank it, it tasted like shit.
Yeah. It's like when you wanted to go, you saw that perfect location, and you always wanted to go there on holiday, and you finally saved up your money, and you went there on holiday, and you got fucking dysentery and robbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Food poisoning, and then fucking were robbed at the same time. I think it was just worth mentioning because it's a shame that this film has just been forgotten about, and it is pioneering. So I just, Sky Captain, I tip my hat to everything you influenced, because you laid the foundations. They weren't very solid foundations, but you did lay the foundations to a bunch of films that have become my favourite films of all time. So to that, sir. And next week we will continue with our love of Jude Law in a film where he gives a much better performance.
I thought it was a TV series.
Oh, it's a TV series, sorry. Yeah, it wasn't originally meant to be a film. We will discuss the Skeleton Crew. I think we're going to discuss next week.
Yeah, this is, look, for those of you who don't know, this is where Nacho will be doing a lot of talking, unless, of course, AJ jumps in. And I'll be saying as little as possible, because I don't have a lot to say about Skeleton Crew.
No. We liked it, though.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone. And that is a good night from me.
And that is good night from the sad little movie that didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't like the little train that said, I can.
Doesn't feel nice to kick something, does it?
No, it feels like, it does. It feels like kicking a dog in the street that's hungry and cold. And it's just sad. Anyway.
All right. Thanks, everyone.